And here's the instructional video for rolling the forearm. As we transition into our next technique for our hand and elbow curriculum, we're going to be transitioning into the elbow and the forearm. The amazing thing about working this area is that not only is it going to feel incredibly good, but it's going to drastically improve your ability to have coordination, flexibility, and control over your hands. Quite frankly, there's a lot of times people are having all sorts of hand pain symptoms that could be stimulating from the forearm itself. And what happens within this juncture is that this musculature is tremendously strong because these cables are so long. And so what happens is that when certain aspects of this arm become imbalanced, let's say the outside line and the cable and the inside cables start to pull in at unequal rates, it can really change how the elbow has the ability to flex and or rotate. So your arm needs to be able to go from an up position or supinated position into a pronated position. And when all of this tissue through here gets tight and contracted, the fascial tissue starts to get very sticky and glued down. The brain perceives that there's an issue going on, danger receptors are being fired, and then it causes that tissue to lock down even more. So the technique that we're going to use is going to be very simple. We're going to have two ways that we can do this. We're going to show you the first way where you're just sitting in a chair or your couch at home. You can even sit on your kitchen or at your kitchen table depending on how tall things are for you, and we're going to go through this amazing technique to help you have more functionality out of your hands. So Jenna's just going to go ahead and sit down for us. From here, she's just going to take her 36 by 6 inch foam roller. She's going to put it on her lap, and we're going to work the arm. Remember, the arm is just a cylinder. It's a tube, and we want to be able to work all the way around this arm. So where we're going to start first is we're going to start on the underside of the arm. And what she's going to do is she can work both sides at the same time through here if she wants. If she wants to really just focus on one side at a time, she can absolutely do that too. And sometimes you're going to get more bang for the buck when we do one at a time, and we'll show you how to do that in just a second. But to kind of get things warmed up, she's going to go ahead and work with two arms at the same time. So as she's sitting here, what we want to make sure that she's going to do is that all of this movement that she's going to be doing, a lot of it is actually going to be coming from her hips. So what we want to make sure that she's doing is that nice and easy, she's just going to be rocking forward and then rocking backwards. What a lot of people will do when they're trying to do this next technique is that they just push with their arm or their shoulder, and then it ends up rounding the shoulder girdle, and they're working and they're too stressed up here, which then tightens up everything within that forearm. So all of this movement is going to come from her going forward. And in our manual therapy world, in our clinic and in our school, we always teach a technique called you're going to keep your sternum over your stroke. So meaning where she has her weight of her sternum is where the pressure is going to come from. So if Jenna were to just reach forward with her arms and she keeps her upper body back here, it's going to be very difficult for her to get any kind of pressure, comfortable pressure into this. So what she's going to do is that she's going to just relax and kind of sink her arms into the roller just a little bit. She's going to keep her hands nice and soft and the wrists nice and soft, because if you're putting tension or stress in the fingers or in the wrist, it's going to tighten up this fascial tissue and musculature through here, and it's going to kick you out a little bit. So ensuring that your hands and your wrists are nice and relaxed, she's just going to rock forward, and the weight is going to come from her sternum being over top of where the pressure is on the roller, and that's going to allow you to be super efficient as you're doing this, and you're not having to use muscle power to get the best results out of this work. So she's going to start the work at the wrists, and she's going to work up towards the elbows. And after 2 or 3 passes, what she's going to do is that now she's going to rotate that hand to where the thumb is a little bit more vertical or up and down, and we're going to work our way around the cylinder. So she's going to just repeat that same process. She's just going to lean in with her upper body, nice and easy, nice and soft, keeping the hands nice and relaxed. Again, what a lot of people do is that they flex those wrists or they hold their hands out like daggers, and it tightens all that up. So she's going to come back, and again, all of this is happening at that pivoting action of her hips, so her sternum can stay right over top of the roller, and she's going to keep her wrists nice and soft. That was an excellent correction. So now what she can do is she can rotate those hands. She's actually going to rotate them to the up position because we started down. So she's going into a more supinated position. And again, you can do very small adjustments in your rotation depending on where you're finding these tight lines and these tight fibers. So it's going to be exactly the same thing. That's what's so beautiful about the relief through rolling system, is that it is so easy. Literally everybody and anybody can do it because it doesn't take a lot of physical effort as she's going through here. So that's going to be how she is going to work the arms at the same time. Now if she wanted to, she could just focus on one side. She could do all of that same work. So what she would do now is that she would move the arm in just a little bit more. She's going to keep the wrist nice and relaxed. That other arm is just going to stay right on top of the roller, and she's just going to roll through that arm. And it's going to just feel a little different than when you were doing both at the same time. And the other thing that I want you to keep in mind is that we keep referencing that part of your brain that dictates how much sensation that you have, and that can get off. And if we're always working both sides at the same time, my brain has a hard time recording the information and improving our ability to be aware and have a differentiated feeling between the two. So there's times where I'll just do this one side at a time so I can really increase my awareness and coordination. So as she's worked one arm at a time, now we're going to go to the next iteration of this, which is one of the most important dynamics on being able to change the sensory into the brain so the brain actually gets the tissue to let go. What she's going to do is, we call it working with rotation. One of the fastest ways when you do this in a safe way to really get the brain to say, oh my gosh, I don't have to hold that tissue so hard, is by adding some rotation to the tissue. So what I mean by that is everything that she did right now worked along the line of all of the muscle fibers. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of a rotation in that tissue. And just like if your shirt gets crooked on your body, you can't just pull it up and down to fix it. You actually have to untwist it so the shirt can settle, or your sock gets twisted on your leg. You can't just pull it up because then it's still crooked. So you have to work with untwisting that tissue or untwisting that shirt so it can set and hang where it's supposed to. And that's what we're going to do next. So what Jenna's going to do is she's going to pick one side at a time, and she's going to move that arm a little bit more in front of her sternum, and it's the exact same motion with the hips, but now she's going to work with the rotation in her forearm. So as she sinks into this and she starts going forward, she's just going to go from a turned up to a turned down position through that wrist. And that wrist or that hand is going to turn over. Once she gets all the way turned over, she's going to reposition, and she's just going to find another spot. So those first few passes where you were just working along the fibers are a great way to find the really sticky spots where that fascial tissue is gluing together and where the muscles and the skin might be gluing together. And this is a great way to get that twist worked out of there. And so we're going to go back, and she's just where she starts to feel maybe it's a little tight or a little sticky. And that doesn't mean that it's painful. It just might feel like it's not moving very well through there. And as soon as she gets to that spot, she's going to rotate the hand down towards the ground. She's going to relax the wrist, which can be tricky in the beginning because some people's somatosensory cortex is so glued together they don't realize that they can do this motion and have a relaxed wrist at the same time. And so this is going to help, again, improve your coordination and the control of your body. So as she rolls through that hand, she finds the next spot. Then nice and easy, she's just going to rotate that over, softening the hand and the wrist as she does that. And then we would just work through that forearm. And again, because all of this musculature comes down and all of these cables and tendons come down and insert onto the hand, they're what control. They flex. This front side, when it contracts, it pulls the hand in and the fingers in this way. And when the back side it contracts, it lifts the fingers and the wrists this way. And so if these are twisted or they're glued together, it's going to be very difficult to have the functionality of the hand like you're supposed to. So she would replicate or repeat that on the same side, on the other side, and that's going to be the way that we're going to work the forearm in the chair. And we want you to check out the wall version as well because that's going to add another benefit to this whole process.